thousands of years. One story has captivated humanity more than perhaps any other. A man, a family, an enormous wooden vessel, and a flood, a flood so immense that it forever changed history. Whether you believe Noah's Ark is literal history, ancient allegory, or somewhere in between, one thing is undeniable. The story has survived for thousands of years. Entire expeditions have spent fortunes searching for the Ark. Researchers have climbed glaciers, explorers have risked their lives, governments have quietly permitted searches. Satellite imagery has been analyzed, ground penetrating radar has been used. Photographs have circulated for decades. Some insist the Ark is there. Others say it never existed. But tonight, we're not asking where the Ark is. We're asking something almost no one has ever thought to ask. What actually happened during the final few minutes before it stopped? Welcome to Obscured Reality. Mark and Stephanie back with you.
Okay.
Tonight's episode is not about proving or disproving Noah's Ark. We've already disproven that. Instead, we're looking at one tiny detail that's almost completely ignored. Imagine the scene. Rain has finally stopped. The violent storms are over. The Ark drifted for months. According to Genesis, the waters gradually begin to recede. Eventually, somewhere in what is now eastern Turkey, the vessel comes to rest upon the mountains of Ararat. That single sentence has sparked thousands of years of debate. How large was the Ark? How was it built? How many animals were aboard? How were they fed? How was waste removed? How did fresh water last? Questions, questions, questions. But one question seems strangely absent. If a massive wooden vessel eventually struck a mountain, who was steering? Now, before you answer, think about that. Most paintings show Noah standing proudly on deck, looking wise, looking determined, sometimes holding a staff, sometimes praying, sometimes surrounded by animals. But rarely, very rarely, do you ever see anyone actually operating the ship, which raises another question. Did the Ark even have a rudder? The Bible never clearly says. Some historians believe it simply drifted wherever the floodwaters carried it. Others believe it may have possessed primitive steering oars. Some ancient ships certainly did. If so, someone would have needed to operate them.
I have the answer for this.
You don't.
Jesus, take the wheel. Absolutely. That's where the phrase comes from. Right there. Sorry.
Now imagine spending nearly a year floating with your family. No engines, no GPS, no weather forecast, no maps.
Really how long the flood was for?
Just endless water. Eventually, land appears. Mountains begin emerging as floodwaters fall. Wouldn't someone naturally attempt to guide the vessel? Even just a little. You probably would.
Yeah.
I know I would. Now, here's something interesting. The book of Genesis is remarkably detailed in certain places. For instance, measurements, construction, animals, timelines. Yet it tells us almost nothing about the day the Ark actually landed. No description of the impact, no mention of celebration, no account of anyone shouting land. Just the Ark came to rest. That's it. Almost as though the arrival itself wasn't considered important, or perhaps the details simply weren't recorded. Over the centuries, artists have filled in those blanks. Some depict calm waters, others show violent seas. Some imagine sunshine, and others dark clouds. Every generation has imagined that final approach differently, but there's one thing almost everyone agrees upon. Someone had to be watching where they were going. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Maybe nobody was steering. Maybe the Ark simply drifted wherever God intended. That's certainly possible. But if that's true, why do so many artistic depictions place Noah near what appears to be the stern? Coincidence? Artistic license? Or were painters unconsciously assuming someone was in command? Because human beings naturally expect somebody to be driving. We assume ships have captains. We assume someone is at the controls. It's difficult for our minds to imagine otherwise.
Yeah, the little house on the back of the the back of the ark, yeah.
Maybe.
No,
Here's
I mean,
another interesting
that's what I recall, and my brain is thinking of my children's Bible I had, but yeah, that's what I
Here's
always had
another interesting
imagined.
observation. Families have a tendency to divide responsibilities. Someone cooks, someone repairs things, someone watches the kids, someone feeds the animals, someone organizes supplies. If you've ever
Not
taken a road
surprising.
trip with your family, you already know how quickly those jobs sort themselves out. Multiply
Mhm.
that by roughly a year aboard a giant wooden vessel filled with livestock, and responsibility becomes everything. Noah couldn't possibly have done every task himself, which brings us back to steering. If primitive steering equipment existed, who handled it? His sons? Possibly. Shem? Ham? Japheth? Maybe. Could Noah himself have done it? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But would he have done it every single day, hour after hour, month after month? That seems less certain. Leadership often means delegating, especially on a voyage that long. So perhaps someone else occasionally took over. Again, the text doesn't say, and that silence has allowed imaginations to wander for centuries. Let's think practically for a moment. The ark wasn't docking at a harbor. It wasn't approaching a pier. It wasn't following marked channels. It was nearing mountains, hidden ridges, rocky slopes, changing water depths, conditions that would have become increasingly hazardous as flood waters receded. Anyone attempting to guide such a vessel would have faced an impossible task, especially without charts, without depth finders, without modern navigation. Picture sitting in a giant wooden steering oar, watching jagged peaks slowly emerge from beneath the water,
Mhm.
trying to judge distances, trying to predict currents, trying to keep an enormous floating structure moving safely. Not easy. In fact, almost impossible, which may explain why no historical sources ever praise the quality of the ark's final landing. Nobody ever says what an incredible piece of seamanship. Ooh. They simply say it came
Sorry.
to rest. Now, during production of tonight's episode, our team noticed something. Not in archaeology, not in theology, not in ancient manuscript, but in ordinary life. Whenever something goes wrong with a vehicle, people almost instinctively ask the same question: who was driving? It doesn't matter whether it's a car, a boat, an airplane, or even a shopping cart rolling across a parking lot. Someone eventually asks, okay, but who was operating it? Maybe, just
I love
maybe,
that.
we've been asking the wrong questions about Noah's Ark all these years. Not where is it, not did it exist, but who had the wheel? Because after looking at every possibility and every practical scenario, every family dynamic, and every overlooked clue, one conclusion began to emerge.
Oh no. Oh
A
no.
conclusion so obvious, it's almost unbelievable we've missed it for thousands of years. Noah was not steering,
I mean,
his wife was,
I knew it.
which
I fucking
which finally explains why they hit Mount Ararat.
The floodwaters were receding, and they just so happened to hit dry land there.
I don't think Stephanie got the joke.
I'm trying really hard to ignore it.
I mean, you could pick any gender or race based on any
Mhm.
stereotype.
Mhm.
All right.
Mhm.
Obviously, you've just listened to approximately half an hour or less of serious historical discussion for one dad joke. If you made it all the way to the end, thank you. And if you're currently groaning, that means the landing was successful. Yeah. So that came
And
up.
another, I swear to
I
God.
saw a meme on like
Oh.
TikTok, or it was on Facebook, and it showed that it was a super short joke. So like, I'll have Chat GPT write a story on that. We'll save the joke for the end. But now seriously though, if you think
Mhm.
about it, yeah, the Bible's pretty goddamn particular
Yeah.
in its description of the alleged ark. Zero mention of anything even close to a rudder or oars, nothing.
But its
And you
timeline is very detailed and exact.
yeah. So, and then
Yeah.
you think about it, this thing's floating out there for a year, and the waters recede, so it's just floating around.
Mhm.
And then as it starts receding, they just happen to be on top of a mountain. I mean, you got to remember almost everything on a mountain is going to be sloped to some degree. And with that water coming down, the boat's going to keep going and
Mhm.
sliding. It's just going to, as the water recedes, less water's touching the boat. The boat's heavier on the land and it comes back down into the water a little. I mean, I can't imagine that happened and it didn't slide down quick enough due to
Mhm.
the weight and just right back into the water. Some of it would have been touching the water anyways, but boom, back into the water. Then you already have a force going away from that new piece of land. It's just going to drift back out.
And it
But
just
possibly
happened
with
to
that.
perfectly place itself on a flat,
Yeah,
perfect
well,
size for
that's
that.
my point.
It just, yeah.
Yeah, there are valleys.
Its landing strip was a little too perfect.
There are valleys on mountains. I've been to them. We're
Mhm.
talking high mountains,
Yeah.
super high mountain. But ultimately it came to rest in a at least fairly flat area.
Mhm.
But it couldn't have been that flat, right? Because wouldn't the ship have to kind of stayed upright?
Yeah.
So some type of
Yeah.
crevice, because what's going to happen? Water recedes and the boat just slowly lifts all the way. Now what? They can't open a door because the door's on either of the two sides. How do they get all those big ass animals out? That would, I mean, they could start destroying the
Mhm.
ship to get the animals out, and that would be, good reason why we've never found it if it's even real. But with that mentioned, this is July 2026. About a month ago, there was an article. Might have briefly mentioned it. New evidence. I think they know where the ark is. It's up there on the mountain, and they're
Yeah, I think
showing
we talked about
new
that.
imagery of this outline and blah 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 blah.
It's not
I'm
new.
like, dude, come on, man, come on. I don't know. Uh, I can't even ask your opinion on Noah's Ark other than his wife driving because you and I are in the same belief
Mhm.
system here. I already know your answer.
Yeah.
But it is interesting. But when you think about it, let's say the story actually is true, Noah's Ark, right? The Bible,
Okay.
all this stuff, right?
Okay.
Just assume, for argument's sake, it's true.
Sure.
I wouldn't expect that they did have a rudder. These aren't people out on the ocean. If they build a small boat for a small lake, they're using oars. That's what they did back then. They didn't pop on the engine. They're not going fast enough to use a rudder. You need power for the rudder to actually be effective. It's almost like a jet ski. If you're not giving it power, even though you're moving, you can't turn a jet ski, a sea-doo
Yeah.
has
No,
to be
I get
underpowered,
it.
right? So Noah's Ark, even if it had a rudder, it would have been for the most part useless.
Also, for argument's sake, if we are, for argument's sakes, just saying, yes, it was real, we believe that this was a thing. I don't think that the boat would have been as large as the outline on Mount Ararat either. I know that they give the sizes and they say they have the correct measurements into today's measuring, units, but
Yeah.
when they say all the animals of the world, I don't
Well,
I can't believe
well,
that it was all the animals of the world. I believe it was all the animals of their known world. So the boat was probably a lot smaller in my
I
mind.
I would say their known world, but just think about the
Yeah,
entire planet
it's a lot.
itself back then. There's probably different animals, could have been. There was probably
Mm,
fewer.
mm,
So, fewer
mm.
types. I mean, things evolve, and we're talking thousands of years ago, so things evolve. I mean, it's
Yeah, but
proven
we've also
time and
killed off
thing.
so many types
Yeah,
of
but
animals as
so
well.
much
So I
so
think there was
much more has
probably
sprouted
more.
up and survived. They probably had less back then. You're talking about large, land mammals, small land mammals.
I think there was more.
Obviously, you don't have to put fish on your bone, but, yeah, either way,
I think
it's no
worldwide there was
matter.
more animals, but I think in their known world there weren't that many.
Well, ultimately, it's a matter of coincidence.
Mhm.
They were able to get that many on there. They
Fair.
came to rest on a mountaintop, right? Somehow stayed upright. I mean, the Bible doesn't mention it tipping over,
Mhm.
nothing.
It did in Titanic, so good
Yeah,
news.
the coincidences. And, I mean, but you can argue either side because who's to say it wasn't farther up the mountain? And as water receded, front of it's dragging down the mountain until the boat reached a flat spot or crevice it could fit in.
Yeah.
But then again, with a crevice you could fit in, the door's blocked.
Mhm.
Doesn't add up, peeps. doesn't add up. That's all I'm saying. All right. You got anything left to add here before we wrap up our joke show?
No.
You sure?
Yeah.
You're talking about
I'm afraid if I say anything, I'm just gonna walk into another dad joke. I just don't want to walk into another dad joke.
I,
Oh man.
I got nothing against male or female drivers, especially female drivers. Everyone makes a thing of it. Stereotypes are there for a reason. Maybe there's some truth, maybe there's not. But I see shitty drivers, male, female, doesn't matter.
Oh
I
yeah.
just see more consistency with females.
It's funny. I see more
Kidding.
consistency with males, especially the semi drivers.
Later. Well, that's the
Yeah.
story. Hope you guys got a laugh. You got a stupid dad joke of your own. Let us know.
Oh, please.
With that said,
Please.
I'm going to Mount Ararat. Peace, bitches.